Alright, so let's begin by visiting Namecheap.com, and I already have an account. If you don't have it, you can sign up. So you need to click the sign up link and fill out your information. Once you do, you'd be creating a new account. So it's as simple as that. Since I already have an account, I'll just enter my credentials here and I'll sign in. Of course, I have an additional layer of security because I've enabled two-factor authentication, so I'll just get my code on my phone. Alright, so 647306 was the code that I received, and let's submit it. It's time for me to buy a domain, and buying a domain is simple. We'll just click domain name search. Here I'll try to find one of those cheap domains. So let's just choose some simple name like My Rails, and let's see, My Rails US. Subtotal is 88 cents. We'll click on View Cart, and now I'll just confirm the order. Now I'll click Select Other Payment Options, and I'll choose Secure Card Payment. Next I'll click Continue, and I'll click Pay Now. Now that I've registered my domain, I can click Manage to see the dashboard details. Since I've got a lot of domains, I'll just search and see what I get. I'll click Manage here, and at this stage, even though it's a bit early, I'm just gonna set up my advanced DNS ahead of time. So let's click here, and we're gonna change this section a bit. First, I need to change the details here, so I'll type www.myrails.us.herokudns.com, and I'll keep everything else the same. Maybe I can switch to automatic here and click the Save Changes, and we're done with Namecheap part for the time being. Next we're going to register, or actually there's one more thing. I'm going to be using the email that I get for this domain, and in Namecheap you can get free email trial for 2 months. So let's see what we get here. To try out any email package free for 2 months, simply select 2 months billing cycle from the drop-down. So I'm going to click here and click 2 months free trial and add to cart, use the domain I own with Namecheap, and I'm going to paste in the domain that I had. I'll select it, click Continue, and I can choose the address here, so it's just going to be admin@myrails.us, add to cart, and confirm the order. I'll click Pay Now. Of course, I need to approve the terms, so I'll click here and click Pay Now again. And now I can click Manage and find my domain again. and click Manage on the domain itself, which brings me back to the screen that I was on, and now I can add a mailbox. So finally, we can click here, change password, and let's say that my new password is going to be just some random password that I need to make a bit stronger. So let's just, alright, so I also have to fill in the Namecheap password, so I'll quickly do that. Click Save Changes. And now I can actually open my webmail, and I'll type my private email password. I'm going to skip the tour, and that's my email right here. Next, I'm going to sign up to Codeanywhere, so let's click Sign Up. Verify that we're human. That should be it. And I'll click Register. Before we start using Codeanywhere, we need to verify our account, so I'll go back here. Alright, so we've got a new email from Codeanywhere team, and this is the verification email. So let's open this link, and now our account is verified. So we can go to the editor and wait for it to open. We will call our new container Rails, my Rails US, and we will choose a blank development stack running Ubuntu 14.04. Now our container is being deployed, so we've got our copy-paste notice, which says that we can select text with the mouse and copy it to the clipboard using Ctrl-C and Ctrl-Shift-V to paste. So that's good to know. We'll keep this link because we're going to need information from it. And back in here, we're going to have to run a number of commands to set up Rails 5.2 on this machine. So basically, this is a virtual Ubuntu machine. It's an Ubuntu container running on this online IDE. So let's first look at the commands that we're going to have to use. Alright, so here we've got commands that we're going to use. So let's start by copy pasting the first one, and we're going to have to do this several times. And this process takes a while, so we're going to speed things up in some sections of this video. Basically what we're doing here is we are setting up all the dependencies and everything that we need to be able to update our Rails version to Rails 5.2 and to also be able to run it successfully. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a virtual environment called RBEnv, which is going to allow us to utilize different versions of Rails on this machine. So now we can check for the Ruby version we've got installed on our system, and we see it's 2.5.0. So we're going to make it a global environment, and next we're going to double check that we're still using this version, even though this step is not really necessary, but we're going to get some more information here. So now we'll install the bundler, and finally we're going to check the version of Node that we're running, and we'll make sure to install Rails with the newest version, which is 5.2. Now we can install Rails. However, since I left my Codeanywhere here open for a couple of hours, I've basically lost access to my SSH, to my SSH console. So in order to open it, I'll simply right click on the container name and click terminal, and this will open a new terminal for me. Sometimes you can do this also if you need to use two terminals, you simply open another one. Anyway, we need only one now, so I'll simply check that I've got the correct Rails version, and that's a good response that I was expecting. So now I can install Rails with Rails new, and I give it a name of my project, and this name will actually be a folder name, and that folder is going to be inside my container. So I'm going to right click here and click refresh, which will make a simple folder appear here. If I open it, I can see all the contents of a Rails project. So this is a default Rails project right here. So now I can go cd change directory into the simple folder, and finally I can run Rails S command, which runs the Rails server. And now I can finally use this tab here that I mentioned in the previous video needs to be open, so we can have access to this link here. So I'm just going to go right click here, open link in new tab, and I need to append colon 3000 to the end, because that's the port that my Rails app is being served on. So I press enter, and we've got Rails running on Codeanywhere. Let's sign up for Bitbucket and Heroku. So we'll visit bitbucket.org, and we're gonna get started for free. Our email address is admin@myrails.us, so I'll click continue. My full name, and I'll verify that I'm not a robot. And finally I'll click continue. All we need to do now is verify the email, so I'll go to Heroku quickly and sign up for free. Here I filled out my form with my first name, last name, email address, role, country, and primary development language. Finally I'll verify the captcha and create my free account. So now I need to verify the email for Heroku as well, and I'm going back to my inbox and I'll refresh the page. So let's verify the Atlassian account, and Atlassian is the parent company of Bitbucket. Now I can pick my username and click continue, and while this is being processed I can go back here, and make sure to verify my Heroku account as well. So now I'll set my password and log in. So now I've successfully logged into Heroku and Bitbucket. After not using the IDE of Codeanywhere for a couple of hours or for a day or two, the environment shuts down. So to restart it, you can right click here and click turn on the environment. You can also turn it off. And one important thing, once this happens, when the environment gets turned off, you of course lose all the tabs that you had open, including the info tab that has all the links for where to load the project and so on. So you simply right click on your container and click info, and that will give you the information of where you can open your app. So that's a quick little note to keep in mind. In this video we'll look at how to create or get the SSH key from Codeanywhere and connect it with Bitbucket. So I'm going to right click here, click SSH terminal. We need to get one level up, so we'll go cd ... and here I'll type cat.ssh /idrsa.pub, and that's the public key that I need to copy. So I'll just copy the whole thing and close it, and I'll go back to Bitbucket, click on the user icon, click Bitbucket settings, and here I'll click SSH keys. I'll add my key, paste it right here, and save a label, and click add key. Now that I have my key, I'll go to repositories here, and I'll connect an existing repository with this one here, which we still don't have. So I'll go here, right click, SSH terminal, cd into the simple directory. Let's inspect what we've got here, ls-la. So we do have the git folder. So I say git status, git init, git status, git add --all. Let's clear the console, and so it's easier to see from the top. And I'll go git commit -m initial commit clear, and now we'll be adding our remote. So we'll create our repo. Repository name is going to be myRailsUS. Create repository. Now we'll copy the git SSH URL by clicking clone and pressing the copy button. And now back in Codeanywhere, I can run git status, git log, and now I'll type git remote add origin, and I'll paste in with shift insert, keyboard shortcut, the git SSH URL. I'll press enter. Of course, I need to remove this git clone section, so I'll just stay with git remote add origin. And now I'll type git push origin master -u. This section right here that says permanently added Bitbucket to the list of known hosts works because I've previously connected everything with SSH keys. In this video we'll install Heroku Toolbelt so that we can do a similar kind of integration that we did in the previous videos. That is, we had integration with Bitbucket, and now we're also going to integrate with Heroku. So let's type wget --, and this is letter O, not 0. https://toolbelt.heroku.com/install-ubuntu.sh pipe sh, and this command will install Heroku for us, Heroku Toolbelt, that is, to be specific. And what Heroku Toolbelt allows us to do is we can use Heroku's CLI, which basically allows us to work from Codeanywhere environment and send our updates of our code and updates to our app to Heroku as well. What that's going to do is we will be able to publish a new app on a Heroku subdomain, and since we already did a connection on Namecheap with a top-level domain with Heroku, that will actually allow us to publish our site on a top-level domain. Now that we have Heroku Toolbelt installed, we'll simply type Heroku login and it'll ask us for our credentials, so I'll type admin at myrails.us, and I'll type my password as well. Now that we've logged in, I'm going to clear the console so it's easier to read, and I'll type Heroku Create. Now we've got a link to our app, so let's just click here and it'll open a new window, and we've got a welcome to our new app message. However, we still need to deploy our app to Heroku, so I'll type git push Heroku master, and this is basically going to sync all our files to the Heroku environment. Of course, here it says that it failed to install gems via bundler because it's detected SQLite 3 gem, which is not supported on Heroku. So we're going to have to go in our gem file and make some changes to the way this works. So basically we need to comment out the SQLite gem, and we also need to add the PG or Postgres gem, because that's what Heroku uses. It uses the Postgres database and not the SQLite database. Now that we've commented out our SQLite gem, we'll go right here and add production group. So for production we're going to be using the Postgres gem. We're going to file save all, and we're going to open another SSH terminal, and we're going to cd into simple, and we're going to run bundle install -- without production, and 77 gems are now installed, so we can run save all. And now we'll go git add -- all, git commit -m. Commit messages should always be present tense. Git push origin master, clear, and now we can git push Heroku master. And now our app has been deployed to Heroku on this link, so let's click it to open it, and it says the page you're looking for doesn't exist. However, this is a great message because, as you'll learn later on, this is actually Rails' own 404 message. Now we can fix the 404 error that we had on our Rails page published by Heroku, and in order to do that it would be useful to visit this link right here, Getting Started with Rails, create a welcome page. And as it says right here, Rails 5 no longer has a static index page in production, so there won't be any root pages in production, so we'll need to create one. In order to do that, we'll create a welcome controller. So we simply copy this command right here, go to our code, and inside our simple directory run this generate controller welcome. Next, we'll add an index page in app views welcome index HTML ERB, and we'll copy this code right here. The reason why we got this error message is because we still need to add another gem to our development, and that gem SQLite 3. We're going to save our file, go back here, and run that command again, which will fix the error now. And let's just make sure that everything still works, so run bundle install, so that works as well. Now we'll run file save all. Of course we need to be outside of the terminal in order for the save all command to be available. And finally, back in here, I'll run git add -- all, git commit -m, update SQLite 3 in development, git push origin master, git push Heroku master. We can see that our app successfully deployed, so that's the strategy that we used here by making both our development and production use different gems, and also by running bundle install without production with a flag without production. We avoided all the issues with the PG gem, so we are now sure that this works and it's very important, and we can go back to following this instruction right here. So we'll copy this and go to app views welcome index HTML ERB. So app views welcome is empty, so we'll create file index.html.erb, where ERB means embedded Ruby, just in case you weren't familiar with the term. So we'll paste that code, go file, save all, back in here. We also need to make Rails routes for this section, so we'll go to config routes RB, copy, config routes, and right here we'll paste our route, go file, save all. Back in here we'll go git add -- all, git commit -m, update welcome page, git push origin master, and git push Heroku master. And now our app is successfully deployed to Heroku, so let's go back here, hit refresh, and we've got the hello world message with the timestamp. So that shows us that our app was successfully deployed, and now the last thing to do is make sure that it's also deployed on the top level domain of myrails.us. In this video we'll look at adding our top level domain. So I'm basically in my Heroku dashboard, clicking on my custom subdomain, and I'm adding my top level domain right here. I'll simply type www.myrails.us, click Save Changes. However, it's asking for my credit card, so I'm going to have to add one. Go back to here, account settings, billing, and I'll add my credit card right here. Now that I've updated my credit card, I can go back to my dashboard right here, clicking on these dots and then the dashboard, back to Shrouded Waters, and back to settings right here, and I'm gonna add my domain, and I'm gonna save changes, and now my domain, top level domain, is set up. So finally we can go and make sure that it works. I'm getting my Namecheap domain page. There is one last piece of the puzzle that we need to complete, and that is the Namecheap settings of my DNS. So I'm going to Advanced DNS, and here I'm going to update the CNAME record with the following information: www.myrails.us.herokudns.com, and we'll make it as quick as possible. And here let's just remove this from @ and keep myrails.us. We'll save changes on both of those, and that's basically it. And in a couple of hours we should have our top level domain serving our Rails app. Finally, after a couple of hours have passed, I've opened myrails.us webpage, and when I refresh it, I get the app served on a top level domain. So that's that setup for you, and having a domain set up like this is a great way to actually start working on your project and learning Rails as you go.